is the Vintage RPG Podcast, your source for the best in classic and contemporary RPGs. With your hosts, Hambone and Stu.
Welcome to the Vintage RPG Podcast, coming at you again from the clubhouse hidden somewhere in the swamps of New Jersey. I'm John Hambone McGuire, and today we have a super special guest. Other than Stu Horvath, who's always special in my book, Brian Shutter, the Neon Lord, is here today to talk about his latest BackerKit for Deities and Demi-Bros and Deadly Dudez, Toxic Creeps from Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland. Brian, how you doing today?
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's been a long time listener, first time caller.
Yeah, and we met recently at Gen Con.
Unfortunately it was too brief, but I was at the Save versus Death Ray table and hawking board games at 75% off.
I was so shell shocked. I was just like, hello, person I know.
Yeah.
And I disappeared into the weekend.
Joey's like, hey, Stu's over here. So I was like, oh. I had to wipe the sweat off my hands from the intense selling that was going on, and
it was Thursday morning was like crazy. It was insane. It was wild.
Yeah, they were saying, some places did better on Thursday than they did last year Saturday.
Jeez.
Yeah, wild.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I will say about Gen Con, and also shout out to Goodman Games for always bringing the heat with not just Goodman Games, but the other stuff that they kind of sell off to the side too, especially those pulp books that you could always find around their booth. Gen Con's one of those things that if you don't specifically have a plan and you don't specifically have a set time to meet someone somewhere, you just kind of disappear into the crowd and become one with the universe.
You're amalgamated in.
You end up somewhere. You've been assimilated like a venom symbiote. Like you just, and wonder how I'd end up at this. How'd I end up at this Shake Shack? I don't know.
It was the closest I've ever come for my consciousness sort of melding with the universe. Like I've just never been quite so like Buddhist about a weekend before, but like I was just like, yeah, I just went where the currents pulled me, and now I don't remember anything.
Well, the currents have pulled us to this awesome conversation we're about to have with Brian. Brian, why don't you start by giving our listeners, I mean, they've heard me yammer on about Neon Lords before, but from, the literal horse's mouth, why don't you give an elevator pitch to our listeners about what is Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland?
Yeah, so my elevator, TLDR elevator pitch is 80s, 90s post-apocalyptic tabletop role-playing setting, using the BX as a foundation, then adds stuff from there. It is Judge Dredd RoboCop meets Guar and the Toxic Avenger.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, right? In an RPG.
Damn straight, brother. And now, I mean, so the core book's been out for how many years now?
Like almost 4 now. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was 2019. It was the first Kickstarter. So yeah, 5 years.
Jeez.
It's amazing because I've definitely seen it morph over the years and just get bigger, badder, and better. And what's cool is that now, you kind of came into RPG publishing around the same time I did. But now, I go places, I go to game shops and people will be playing it. I'll see it in stores and I'll see it just out in the wild and not just on the other side of a computer screen. So besides the core book, you've put out several adventures for it.
Yeah, several adventures. And the last Kickstarter was a big Hicks crawl, cannibal, humanoid, hillbillies running amok. And Riders of the Burp Warp adds 12 more classes. So there's over 30 classes for the game.
Riders of the what?
Riders of the Burp Warp. So the story behind it, Stu, is that an elder space god burped a ripple through time and space and outwalked new classes from the past, present, and future of the Neo Terra and beyond.
I love it. It's like It's like I just love it. When I hear warp, I think of Warhammer, and then just the burp, and it's just all of it is just very. I love it.
Oh, thanks. It's actually Talisman Timescape add-on was what spawned my.
Is that
spawned
the one
it.
with where they put the Space Marine with the chainsaw blade?
Yeah, yeah.
in the
There's a
game?
chainsaw warrior in
Yes.
there. There is a I forgot what they call him, like a warp seer guy.
Yeah, that's the one talisman expansion for 3E talisman that I don't have, and it's like the coolest one.
Yeah, it's super cool. There's like a caveman. There's like it runs all gamuts of like past, present, future, right? So I was like,
Yeah.
be kind of
Wow,
cool
so
to do this.
it really is like a call out to Warhammer of yore.
Oh, I mean, yeah, 95% of what I do is it's blatantly ripping off Games Workshop.
Good.
Allegedly.
Somebody should do it.
Allegedly, right? So
Yeah.
like one of the other books is Space Bulk, not Hulk, but it is essentially the same thing.
Nothing wrong with that.
He's got a very, very, very fine file that he uses to take the serial numbers off of things, allegedly.
Yeah.
Go with God. You're doing the Lord's work, man. I really appreciate it. Like somebody has to do it, you know?
Yeah, I
Good.
mean, you never really see like 40K parody games.
No, because everybody's scared of them.
They're not coming after me. I'm little potatoes,
Yeah.
like
So this BackerKit you got going on right now, it's for a supplement for Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland. However, I kind of feel like it's a misnomer calling it a supplement because Deities and Demi-Bros is going to be over 200 pages, right? I mean, the conversation we had about it's going to be thick.
yeah, it's gonna be 250 or probably 3 after I get my irradiated mitts on it. I always that creep, the writer creep is real, and I stick to it. I keep it. Like it's gonna be a big one. So yeah, it is a misnomer too because it's actually 2 supplements. So it's 2 separate books. There is the Deities and Demi-Bros, and then just the gods and the wrestling pantheon and everything, and then Deadly Dudez and Toxic Creeps is a monster manual.
Oh,
It's gonna
nice.
add more monsters to the game.
So I gotta ask. I want you to walk me through Lucas's cover here for
Yeah,
Deadly
let me
Dudez
pull.
and Toxic
Let me
Creeps.
pull this up
Because there's lots of things on here that I love, and I love Lucas's artwork. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, I talked to him, and I say Lucas, but I'm pretty sure, like he said it's Lucas, but he honestly said he doesn't care.
Okay, I mean that fits.
As long as the check clears, baby.
Yeah, he's done he's done a couple of unwinnable covers, and he's always great to work with. And this cover is just freaking fantastic because there's so many cool things in it.
He's awesome, and he's like super European and super right to the point, so he doesn't like sugarcoat anything, right?
Yeah,
I'd be like, hey, what if we do this? He's like, no, I hate it. So it's like, okay, well,
all right, well, we won't do that then.
So then I did the Goosebumps cover. I was like, well, here's a hope and a prayer. Let me send it off to him. He's like, yes, this is awesome. So I was like, yes, all right, we did it.
Yeah. So the obvious thing is that it's a riff on the Goosebumps logo
Yes.
and trade dress, but what do you got in the background there?
Oh, there is so they are muscleoids on the right, like the right, if you're looking at the poor chump about to get schwacked. And then the other ones, I don't remember the name off the top of my head. They are like Bomberman-esque. I'd have to look at the doc. In the back is actually a giant, we took the face off it because it was getting too busy, but in the book it's a mad boulder. So it's a mad ball boulder.
Oh,
a monster that's like critters when they turn into the giant ball.
Yes.
The best. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how that mohawk that they have is super distinct. Like I saw it a mile away in the header image. I'm just like there were 2 things that I spotted. It was the riff on the Scholastics logo and that mohawk, and I was like, are those muscle men? Like just immediate recognition. I love those toys so much, and it's
They're the best.
they were.
Yeah, and
so
then that
weird.
indistinctible peach flesh color too, right? Like
Oh my God.
like Monsters in My Pocket, they just don't replicate it. I think I have Muscle Men somewhere around here.
I have a tub of muscle men. Like it's one of the few toys from my childhood that like hung on. It was Legos and muscle men.
Yeah, like the Monsters in My Pockets at least like came in different colors.
Oh man, they Yeah, and they did like neon ones, and they're a little rubbery too, so they got a little bend to
They got a
it.
little more gift on, but the muscle man, like if you put a bunch of them, and like people like, oh, I need to improvise a weapon. They'll put like a pool cue or like a bunch of quarters in a sock. I mean, you could get the same kind of carnage by dropping a bunch of muscle men in a sock and just whacking your buddy over the head
Oh,
with them. I mean,
absolutely.
shit.
Yeah, won't leave a bruise either.
No,
It's like a sack of oranges. You can hit
Oh
somebody with
God,
you won't leave a
I
bruise.
totally flashed back to that. What movie is that? Is that like Grifters? There's like a scene with a sack of oranges in a movie in the 90s.
Oh,
Like I'm totally reliving now. You just
oh, interesting. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, that's why I wrote a sack of oranges into brain ears.
It's a great weapon.
It's a great gag. The
Can't
other
beat it.
cover is exceptional too because it is a riff on Deities and Demigods, and like
Yes.
if you kind of just clock it out of the corner of your eye, you're immediately drawn to it because you think it might be Deities and Demigods, especially with the yellow banner in the top corner. But this is an amazing wrestling scene. And who was the artist who did that?
Chris Freeman. He did Untlik, the sword, and he did a couple things before, and then he did the third printing Neon Lords cover that's like available.
Yeah.
It's not out yet. It's available in this Kickstarter. It's phenomenal artist. Like I don't think anybody uses him in RPGs. I just saw him on Instagram, and he did a couple things for like other like bands, I think, and stuff. Like video games. I think he did like some video like for like video game cons or something. I was like, man, this guy's too good.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has a style that's very evocative and very
Mm.
like if you looked at like a poster for like a rock concert or like a video game, you'd be like, yeah, this guy's got it. It's got it
Yep.
dialed in. But this is it's a pretty incredible scene, dear listener. You'll see a link to it in the notes for the show. You'll be able to check it out yourself. And yeah, man, it's definitely interesting. You're doing it on BackerKit, which is a brave new world for a lot of people in crowdfunding.
Mhm.
Coming having been doing Kickstarter for so many years. Talk to us a little bit about the difference. Like you've been doing Kickstarter as long as I have. Now you're rocking BackerKit.
Yeah, so BackerKit has been super user friendly. Like I did the minis campaign on BackerKit because they offered you free $1,000 if you signed up for a campaign last year. Was it sign up for last year and do it this year? Yeah, that's what it was. So 2023, if you signed up in 2023 for a 2024 campaign, they gave you a free $1,000 towards. So like, of course I'm going to try it, right? Like, yeah, why not, right? So I was already using BackerKit and my back end, so I would like Kickstarter would take their piece, which they're entitled to it. Absolutely, we're using their service. No harm, no foul. Oh, there's a muscle man right there. And then and I was using BackerKit, so then they would get their piece too. So it's like, well, like if BackerKit is doing like funding, why not just cut the dirty middleman and then just do all one-stop shop? And the best part is I can literally start building my like once you're backed, like once you're funded, you could start working on your pre-sale page.
That's amazing.
Like, yeah, it's like it's incredible because like I couldn't believe it. Like the last Kickstarter, like the minis we funded, I think in like an hour or something, and then they were like, "Oh, congrats! Like now you could start like doing your like pre-sale page and setting up your fulfillment and everything."
Oh, you mean as soon as you fund it?
Yeah. As soon as you cross that finish line, not even getting money, like the second they're
Wow.
like, the second you get the thumbs up that like this is actually going to happen, you get, yeah, I got an email saying like you're good to go, you can start.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, and then like they've been nothing but like crazy helpful. Like you submit your they review it and then they send back notes and they're like, hey, we think you should do this, like we think you need this, you could add this. They're just suggestions. They're not like you have to do this or we're not gonna approve it. So they're like, these are suggestions you can do. And I'm doing a cross collab with James Ponzanel with his Netcrawl game. So we had some meetings with some people over there and they were like very like, oh yeah, that would be cool. Like very listen to what we had to say and like the suggestions that we came up with and everything. So it was pretty cool experience. like, yeah, like would I have made more money probably on Kickstarter? Yeah, it's still a fledgling service, but it in the end, I think it'll work itself out.
Yeah. How many years is this? Like 3-ish that they've been doing it?
Oof, I don't even think that. I think maybe
Crowdfunding?
like
No, they've only been doing it for about a year or two.
Really?
Oh
I think
yeah, they're new.
I
They're
want
new
to.
to this side of it. I mean, they've been fulfilling stuff. I want to say since 2012.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they fulfillment side forever. I want to say this year,
Was
yeah,
the
or it
first.
could have
Wow.
been last year. It could have been last year. Now that
like
I'm,
at the end of last year into
yeah,
this year,
and
it's
yeah,
Huh.
that was because that was the big BackerKit summit with Joseph was January.
very cool, man. I appreciate that because a lot of our listeners do create RPGs. They do crowdfunding, so it's always cool to hear from someone who's in the trenches like the rest of us and their experiences. So thanks for sharing that.
Hey, anytime. It like if you ever do like you want to like just sit down and talk like the shop, and let people listen to like the trials and tribulations of messing every single thing up and then learning from your own mistakes. I'm
We've
down
got
for that too.
stories.
Yeah.
I mean, I've still got them, so it's a learning curve.
No, and
For
it's
sure.
it's an ever shifting world, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of ever shifting worlds, I got to go back to this cover again for the Deities and Demi-Bros. Is that a necromancer summoning like a Skeletor dude to hurl at somebody else?
That is so there is the Lord of the Dead, the Undertaker, summoning his minions, and it looks like you have Typhoon and Earthquake in the ring. You got and then
Of course,
obviously
that's Typhoon and Earthquake. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
and then you got the dragon coming down with Lord Randy the Savage one doing his atomic elbow.
It just looks like the Undertaker is going to haul off and hurl that guy that he's got kind of conjuring above
Oh,
his hand.
I think it's behind him.
Okay, I could live with that.
I mean, that'd be cool.
But whenever I see sort of a riff on deities and demigods, I kind of immediately think of petty gods too. And like are you familiar with that book?
I am not familiar with this book.
Oh, good. You should totally check it out. It was an OSR book that was put together years ago, community project, and it was just like dumb gods. It's
it.
just like a gigantic collection of community created gods that are all petty. They're none of them really particularly important, and you could buy it for cost on Lulu. It's great.
Oh, thanks. Now I have to buy this.
Yeah, that's my job, right?
Yeah, that is true. No, I like the cover too because it's like super old school feel to it.
Listen, the monkey paw of doing our show or listening to our show is that you're going to spend money, and I think at 7+ years we can stop apologizing for that.
I think it's important for the listeners who constantly have to buy stuff because of what they've heard of hear and see me do it to the guests too.
or equal opportunity, man.
Equal opportunity. Everybody's wallet suffers here.
So one thing I want to point out is a lot of people have been doing these like you back in the first 48 hours, like you get like a little like something or other, whatever. But you actually are giving away a full free adventure if you back within the first 48 hours. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it's like A5 size, so it's not like a full like 8.5 by 11 adventure size. So it's probably going to be like 15-ish pages. In A5, it's called Madness at the Ancient Ziggurat of the Savage One. So the big thing about Randy is you got the benevolent god and the madness side of the god. So he's like his duality, and sometimes the madness like overtakes him and rains hell, as they say, on the poor people of Neoterra XX, and they all come down with the madness themselves. So you have to, and it's a 5th level adventure too, so you're already like kind of beefy. So as brave scumdogs as they say, you travel to the ancient ziggurat of the Savage One to find the only cure, which is the sensational one's cauldron of madness.
Yeah.
Do some things with the cauldron and concoct an antidote for the madness before it succumbs to the planet. into complete and utter chaos.
It's pretty awesome, dude.
Things I didn't think I was going to contemplate tonight would include, now that I'm pondering, was Macho Man Randy Savage an avatar of Dionysius? Because he sure sounds like it when you talk about it.
Well, yeah. So when the game was in its inception, I always liked the idea in D&D, and always put in my games where gods. It's like Clash of the Titans, right? That original scene where like they're all up there and they're always like mingling with the mortals, right? They're like put Perseus like in the Colosseum and everything, and they're always got their hand in like the pockets of the mortal people just for shits and giggles. So I always thought about that, and I always put it in all my games. There's always like Orcus and always god references, and gods played a part. So making Neon Lords, I was like, man, I got to do gods too, right? So I was like, the big thing is there's these people called chronosages where they smoke the sacred smoke and travel back in time, like through the mind gate, their third eye, and see like what the flesh gods, like our time. So, and then they bring it back and they interpret it, and that's how like they, foretell the past. So they saw wrestling and thought that was the gods, right? So like, but they eventually like become actual gods.
Yeah, I love it. It's so good. I mean, what's not to love? They are gods. They are gods among men.
They ascended to godhood after Vietnam II: The Revenge.
I mean, if you're not sold yet, you've got no soul, because I mean these are all like the crazy shit that most people I think who listen to the show grew up loving. Or like if you are younger, this is stuff that you're just getting into now because everything that's old is new again and suddenly cool. Like all the music that I listened to in the 90s that I have not stopped listening to in the 90s, suddenly like teenagers are into it. Thus like, oh my God, I can't believe you saw that band. And you're like, yeah, I was your age and it was like 30 years ago. But like, this is all pretty cool stuff. So this is on BackerKit. The time this episode drops, the actual campaign goes live the next day. However, if you click the right buttons, you might be able to actually back it like I did before the actual campaign goes live. So we're going to put a link in there that if you are listening to this episode as a patron on Friday, if you're hearing it on Monday, you're going to get a jump start on everyone. This is definitely going to fund. By the time we're recording this episode, which is Wednesday, we're already a fifth of the way there with just the get notified page. So click the link, back it early. If you back within the first 48 hours or like me, 6 days ahead of time, you're going to get the madness at the Ancient Ziggurat of the Savage one as well. I recommend getting both books. They have it in physical and PDF form. And honestly, for me, having played RPGs, started when I was 25 with Stu and playing them and writing them all the way up to now. I've been doing this like 20 years. I will tell you, games like Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland, HPA Fairhaven, these are the kind of games that made me fall in love with wanting to actually play RPGs again instead of just writing them. Like this is the kind of stuff that brings me back to the table. So if you have not picked up Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland yet, you could also buy the book when you buy the other two books as well, because BackerKit will gladly take your money. So definitely check out Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland, Deities and Demi-Bros supplement live on BackerKit on September the 3rd, but y'all going to get that sneaky link to back it a little early. Brian, man, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
So this has been another amazing episode of the Vintage RPG Podcast. Stu, where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me on vintagerpg.com, where I've just, I brought all the posts in and then I screwed up the pictures and now I fixed the pictures. It's been a long, tedious week of data entry, but that's over now. All the pictures are there for you, dear listener. I'm tired.
I hear you, man. But I will tell you this. I don't know about you guys, but like for me, across my desktop bar at the top, like I have actual sites that I go to, like Variety, Fangoria, Bleeding Cool. Like I like to be able to be, while I'm on my computer, not just falling down the hole that is like Facebook and social media. Like I like to be able to read articles and see things and scroll through things at large size because of my special eyes, because I'm old. Going back through the vintagerpg.com has been a hoot because instead of like kind of just like looking down at something on my phone and kind of half reading it, like I'm actually having the pleasure of being able to look at the pictures large to really be able to see the words and digest everything. So I honestly, yes, I have a vested interest in this because it's my buddy's website, but I really can't recommend going to vintagerpg.com enough. I am out and about in the world again. I've been posting more pictures. If you want to follow me on the internet, John McGuire RPG over on Instagram is where it's at to do. I was going to post more, but then I got COVID and I lost half the month of August. But if you're looking to get in on the action over at Exalted Funeral, we have all the 3-2-1 action books at your fingertips, including the PDFs for some great prices. Great way to support your old buddy HB is to buy some of the books that he's writing. And if you really want to get in on something cool, Brain Eaters RPG.com. Brian Shutter, the Neon Lord himself, and I wrote a zombie survival RPG. Physical copies are only available in the US, but they're $10. It's a 50-page book. $10. Everything you need to play is in the book. It's a rule set and adventure called 5 Alive RPG. Zombie Brain Eaters, Suburban Decay in the USA. Out now. Click that link. BrainEatersRPG.com. Can't go wrong with that. And if you're PDF only people, go over to the Ham and Egg Publishing Drive-Thru RPG. The PDF's only $7. Let's get in on the spooky series early. Check out Zombie Brain Eaters Suburban Decay in the USA. If you like the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Your reviews really do help other listeners to find us. If you really like the show, why not become a patron? Patreon.com/vintagerepg. We got a behind-the-scenes look at the stuff that Stu's working on. I've been posting a lot more behind-the-scenes stuff that I'm working on between Action and 5 Alive RPG. We've got a killer Discord community that we'd love to be a part of. Early release episodes for as little as $1 a month. And if you want to roll dice with Stu and I, we've got tiers for that too. I've been running Mothership for some of our patrons. And let me tell you about a game that turns to shit on a dime and you could nearly kill everybody in one roll. Mothership. Highly recommend. Patreon.com/vintagerepg. So for Stu Horvath, I'm John Hambone McGuire. May the dice always roll in your favor.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Every review helps other listeners to find us. The Vintage RPG Podcast is a ham-fisted production. Music by Dego West. Art by Schaefer Brown. If you like the podcast, you should also consider becoming a patron at patreon.com.